Hello and welcome to episode 2 of our Geeks Drop the Gauntlet series. My name is J-Rad and this is
Spanky.
And in today's episode,
we'll
be discussing two characters from the MCU that we either feel are underrated or caught us by surprise by how cool, awesome, and totally rad they were. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to be like Iron Man or anything like that. This is going to be characters that had either a limited screen time or someone that just, was in one movie and caught us off guard of being completely amazing.
Well, I mean, nothing else really needs to be said. Why don't you kick us off?
Well, this is a Geeks Drop the Gauntlet episode. We got to have some sort of controversy, some sort of fight. Rock, paper, scissors. See who goes first.
Let's go.
All right. It's rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
1, 2, 3, bam.
That's what I was doing. All right, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I'll count it out so we're on the same page.
All right.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
A fart.
A fart.
All right, well, you get to go.
All right, so I'm going to kick things off with my number one character. And my number one, number two doesn't mean one's better than the other. It just means these are my two that caught me by surprise. So my first character is the legendary Korg out of Thor Ragnarok was his first appearance. Now, Korg, I don't know if he would be necessarily an unpopular character. I think he's actually pretty popular. But I chose him because, number one, he's only been in 3 movies. Barely in Avengers Endgame, I think. Yeah. And he was in, obviously, Ragnarok and Love and Thunder.
He's even kind of a minor character in comics.
Yeah. So, but he caught me off guard. Number one, because I think he's maybe overlooked because of the comedy. Some people might just look at him as he's completely comic relief. That's all he is, 100%. And while that is fairly accurate, sometimes a comic relief just doesn't work. And in this case, it completely worked. In Ragnarok, he blew me away because every time he was on screen, made me laugh. And it was great to also know that he was voiced by the director, and I can't pronounce his name, but I'm going to go...
Taika Waititi.
I wanted to try. But yeah, so it was voiced by the director, and Taika did a great job, I thought, with voicing him. Ragnarok, I thought, was a great movie. I did like how they leaned a little more into comedy in that movie. Unfortunately, I think they went even further in Love and Thunder, and to me, that kind of soured it a little bit. But point is, his character in both movies made me laugh.
I think it's important to point out in Love and Thunder. First of all, I'm not going to hate on anything. It's not, Love and Thunder wasn't my favorite. However, that movie is told from Korg's perspective. He is the storyteller in that movie. So are there going to be some quirky things? Absolutely. Is it probably going to be funnier than it needs to be? Absolutely. And is it going to fill in the blanks for things he might not know? Probably.
Yeah. So
I think that's kind of important to consider on why that seems so zany compared to the other ones.
I agree. Knowing that now, too, because I think watching it for the first time when you're sitting in the theaters, you don't know that, really. So I think that kind of hurt its overall reception. Because not knowing that, sitting there, and you're watching, you're like, okay, you've gone a little too far on the comedy aspect. But even still, that's my point in why I believe Korg is one of the funniest characters in all the MCU, is even in that movie where there were certain jokes, a lot of jokes, in my opinion, that kind of didn't land. Everything that he did when he was on screen, I was like, okay, that was funny.
Yeah.
Like, he just made me laugh. And in the world of comic relief, which seems to be the route a lot of these Marvel movies are going, some just don't hit it right, and I believe Korg did. And so in my opinion, he's one of the most underrated comic relief specialists in all of the MCU, even though he's completely overshadowed in every movie he's in by Thor, by Valkyrie, by everyone at the Hulk. All of those characters overshadow him. But damn, did he make me laugh. And for that, I love it because comedies are one of my favorite genres.
Printing pamphlets and not printing enough of them so he couldn't start a revolution was amazing.
Let's be honest. Another great reason, how many of his one-liners aren't just known? Like, we just one-line, like, piss off, Ghost!
Piss off, Ghost! He's freaking gone.
Well,
and I accidentally kicked my dog, whose name is Ghost, so that's great. But yeah, the piss off Ghost I thought was hilarious. He's just got multiple one-liners that made me chuckle.
Freaky circle.
And I enjoy. and I enjoyed it. So therefore, that is why Korg is going to come in as my number one. I'll call him underrated comic relief specialist.
Nice.
I believe it is your turn.
Oh, God. Okay, so I'm not really much into the occult aspect of Marvel Comics. Like, I'm not really familiar with Doctor Strange. I know more of Scarlet Witch from the X-Men than any occult things that she does in the Marvel universe. That being said, I was really surprised with how much I liked Agatha Harkness.
Okay.
Because we went into an area with WandaVision that we didn't go into in the previous 3 phases of Marvel in the MCU. We would watch the movies and enjoy them, and we didn't really have to predict anything. We'd laugh and we'd cry, and that was it. But then you get into WandaVision, and every little thing mattered. Every advertisement that was in there, every reference, every date, all of those things mattered. And people paid attention to it and tried to extrapolate what all those meanings meant and who was behind it. Yeah. And people guessed Mephisto, and Doctor Strange was hiding as a rat the whole time, or a bunny, or something like that. But it was Agatha all along.
Who's been messing up everything? It's been Agatha all along.
Yeah.
So Agatha was actually created in 1970 by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And she started off as kind of a nanny to Franklin Richards, who is probably one of, if not the most powerful character in the Marvel Universe. And to teach him any amount of morality at all was extremely important. And Agatha played that role. She's also kind of a mentor and friend to Scarlet Witch. Again, one of the most powerful characters in the entire Marvel Universe. And whether she taught that same morality as she did to Franklin is not really known. Because there's been several times where Scarlet Witch has kind of been off the rails.
Yeah.
In the MCU, she was portrayed by Kathryn Hahn, and I love Kathryn Hahn. She is beautiful, she's charming, she's funny, and she played this role perfectly because she was introduced as like this quirky next door neighbor, and just like the role that you see all the time in like Married with Children or Roseanne, or even I Love Lucy or something like that. And you see these neighbors that come in and they're just kind of quirky and weird, and you just take it for what it is. So like having her as Agatha was amazing. Plus Agatha's origin is cool. It says in the comics she's like 12,000 years old, but I think that in the MCU her origin starts more with the Salem witch trials and and kind of moves forward there. And Agatha, it appears, is corrupted by the Darkhold because her fingertips are blackened.
Yep.
And I know that we'll see Agatha again soon. I love the jingle, and she should be back in Agatha Coven of Chaos. I think it comes out like either late this year or early next year.
Yeah, that's a good character. I actually thought that WandaVision in of itself was a surprise to me just because of the first 2 episodes. I was like, the hell is going on? Like, what is this? And how it transferred or transformed my opinion of that show from the first 2 episodes to how it ended, it was like night and day. And I'm not saying it's the best Disney Plus series. I'm just saying, like, that surprised me in general. Then her character was a standout character in the show itself, which honestly was really awesome to see how much it transformed. And I'm like, at the end, I'm like, oh, what's happening next? I gotta know.
Right.
So that was really good.
And I'm going to tie in some other things in that Agatha Harkness is a major character in the Midnight Suns video game that came out late last year.
I have not played that.
And the Midnight Suns is a fun game. Again, I'm not that proficient with the occult, and the Midnight Suns deal entirely in that. But her character is like a central figure in that game.
Is she playable at all?
No, she's
Okay.
not. She's just, again, she's kind of a mentor to your character. And there's some mystery surrounding her, which is interesting to kind of solve in that game. But with having Catherine Hahn's Agatha, and then seeing Agatha in Midnight Suns. It was more impactful, I think, for me.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, that's a great character. I like that. That's a good choice.
Thank you.
That's a good choice. You're welcome. I wanted to fight you on that, but that was a good choice.
There's no fight.
There's no fighting, I think, on this one besides our rock, paper, scissors bout that I clearly won. Clearly. Anyways. All right. Well, let's move on then. I'm going to move on to my second character. Now, this standout character to me goes off of the whole saying, your hero's only as good as the villain. Right? And I've heard that before, and a lot of times you kind of look past it, or even you're like, the villains are one-dimensional. And sometimes that's hard to, I know a villain's evil, but it's hard to kind of associate with, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Relate to.
Relate to.
You have to be able to relate to a villain.
You have to. So my choice is the Purple Man, Kilgrave, from Jessica Jones Season 1. Now, I thought, watching that show, do I think Jessica Jones Season 1 was an amazing, beautiful, great show? No, I don't think it was 10 out of 10 show. What really made the show to me, was the villain, Kilgrave. Mm-hmm. So as you went into a little bit of history, I had to do just a little bit of history research myself. But in the comics, Kilgrave, who's also known as Purple Man, he is a villain with the ability to control minds, as we saw in the show.
Yes? You'd like to invite me in? Absolutely.
That's my car.
Children should be seen and not heard. Or better still, not seen and not heard. Get into that closet.
But to a much greater degree in the comics. They kind of limited him in the show. But that being said, he actually first appeared in Daredevil, number 4 in 1965, and he was a reoccurring villain for multiple different storylines. And his powers, though, were insane to the point where there's actually a storyline where he controlled the Avengers. Mm-hmm. And what he does is he secretes pheromones, in the comics at least. I don't think they touched on that in the show.
Yeah, it's the same.
They touched on that in the show. I couldn't remember. But he secretes these pheromones that essentially he can control the actions of the characters. As you saw in the show, he controlled Jessica Jones on multiple occasions and other characters in there. But what got to me, first of all, let's touch on David Tennant. I thought he's the actor who played it. I thought he played the role extremely well. I thought he was a great casting choice. I do have to hand it to the MCU, even in the Netflix series, I have to hand it to them in their casting. Mm-hmm. Their casting was great. Kilgrave, I thought, was great. Kingpin was great. Daredevil was amazing. Mm-hmm. Jessica Jones even was good. Punisher was amazing. Luke Cage was a great casting. So I just think, and notice how I left off Iron Fist. Anyways, let's move on.
About that.
Let's move on. No, but I actually think he's often underrated compared to other villains, because when you think of a villain in the MCU, you probably are going to think of Thanos, Loki, right? These are like big time. And while Thanos also could be, you could relate to him to a degree, maybe because what he was trying to do. Loki, maybe you could relate to him to a degree, maybe, all these maybes there. I thought that the Purple Man was these Thanos, Loki, they're, planetary level threats. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's nice to watch something that's a little more grounded. And when I say grounded, I'm not saying it's not supernatural or it's not powers. I'm just saying a little more grounded to maybe a city-wide threat. Something that Spider-Man or the Punisher or Jessica Jones or someone would be involved in. Not where we need the Avengers and gods and other things to come in and stop
there's not
them.
A light beam.
Correct.
DC.
But the crazy part is if you actually think about it, he is kind of on that level. Because he can control people's minds. And I thought that always, in the show, he's only dealing with Jessica Jones, I believe, was the only hero in season 1 that he was, Luke Cage was in there as well, being mind controlled. But point is just imagine now if other heroes got involved and he was able to control their minds.
Yeah, his threat is who he's exposed to.
Yes, and that I thought is what makes him unique, is because, you have a hero or a villain, he's got super strength. Okay, that's cool. But now you've got someone who could control anyone who has any sort of powers.
And I don't even know how effective Professor X would be against him, since their mind control power is different.
Correct, yeah. Could he control
Right,
Professor
I don't
X?
know, or vice versa. I'm not really sure.
So I thought that was really cool. And I also thought in the show, another thing that was cool is that while he is undeniably evil, he has evil tendencies, it did go back and explore his backstory and the reasons why he became who he was. And we learned that he was experimented on, as a child. I mean, can you imagine? Like all the things he went through as a child, which did give him his powers, but also left him emotionally stunted. It left him with all these, he was unable to understand the actions of his consequences. And I'm not saying this as like, oh yeah, I now relate. No, but it gave him a backstory of why he did what he did. And sometimes when you just introduce a villain, and you're like, and he does an evil thing, and you're like, why? And it's because I'm evil. You're like, okay. Like, that's it.
Right. There's no relating to that.
It adds depth. And depth is a huge thing. It makes him more than a one-dimensional villain, which I actually thoroughly enjoy. Now, obviously, his impact on the MCU was minimal because he was only in that first season. But I think that the idea behind his powers, behind what he could accomplish, has been seen in other shows. Just like, for example, Marvel properties like WandaVision, in fact, which deal with kind of the similar themes of mind control and manipulation. What he was key in, all right? And he came first, too, in this aspect. I just thought he did have more of an impact than you initially think. And I do believe he's one of the cooler villains that I've seen in the MCU that isn't on Thanos, Loki popularity levels. I think if I were to sit down and talk to someone, even someone who's just halfway interested, and I said, hey, you like Kilgrave? They might not know who that is. And that might be a little bit sad because I thought he was a standout, underrated character in Jessica Jones season 1.
Yeah, in fact, I think he probably... it's a toss-up for me on who the best bad guy is in the Netflix Marvel shows between Kingpin and him.
Yes, Kingpin. Vincent D'Onofrio was amazing.
Yep, and David Tennant was perfectly cast. He's probably the most charming Doctor. I would say probably one of the most favorite from Doctor Who.
Yes.
And he played an excellent villain in Harry Potter. And so, man, in which one was it? Goblet of Fire.
Yeah.
And he was awesome in that too. So he plays a good bad guy. He plays a good guy as well. So I also enjoyed season 1 of Jessica Jones. I thought that it was much more impactful than having a mother who she didn't know in season 2 that was now this threat because she's family, but she doesn't know her.
Yeah.
So that didn't make any sense to me. But Kilgrave in season 1 was just awesome.
Dare I say, I think he carried the show.
He did.
And that to me, like when you have a villain that can carry a show like that, and you're almost like, I wonder how the hero's going to stop you know what? I just want to know what the villain's up to.
Right.
And you want to find out his backstory and find out what he's all about.
Yeah, and I don't say that to take anything away from Kristen Ritter, but
oh no,
and she did a great job as Jessica Jones. I'm not familiar with Jessica Jones, but I thought Kilgrave was much more he grabbed my attention more.
It's more of, I feel almost kind of like what you're working with is what you're given on the script, even on other things. And I just think that he was more well written than she was. And while she did her part, they chose the right actress for her, I believe. I can't think of anyone else I would necessarily choose off the top of my head.
No.
But I think they nailed it on his part too of the casting, and he pulled that off. And the writing was pretty solid for him.
Yeah.
So in my opinion, Jessica Jones season 1 is, that's tough, because Daredevil's my favorite. Daredevil
Punisher season 1
is
was
my
the
favorite.
best.
Punisher, it was really good, wasn't it? I don't know. Daredevil's I like Daredevil more than Punisher. So, and having that first season was amazing. So, okay, fine. I'll go Daredevil season 1, Punisher season 1, Jessica Jones season 1. There's my top 3.
I'll accept that. I don't like characters who are self-deprecating, that drown themselves in alcohol or drugs or something. It's difficult for me to watch because I just can't relate to that in any way. But I enjoyed the Kilgrave aspect of it.
Carried.
The Jessica Jones getting drunk all the time wasn't my favorite, but it does play close to her comic, so that was fine.
Yeah.
Yes, Kilgrave was amazing. That's a good trait. Good choice.
All right. What do you got for your number dose?
All right, I guess I'll wrap this thing up with...
Wrap it up with duct tape.
Namor the Submariner.
Who's that?
Right. So Namor was created in 1939 by Bill Everett.
Old.
Right. His first circulated appearance was in Marvel Comics #1 before it was Marvel Comics. It was actually called Timely Comics at the time.
Wow.
Marvel Comics didn't actually exist until June of 1961. So for, 22 years,
Yeah.
it was Timely Comics. Or something, it was something else too in the middle. I can't remember what it was called. Namor, along with the Human Torch as an android, not the Fantastic Four version, are the oldest Marvel characters. And a lot of times, Namor is referred to as Marvel's Aquaman.
Yeah.
But in all actuality, Namor existed 2 years before Aquaman did. So Aquaman is DC's Namor, which is stupid. But
It's kind of funny to think about.
And their origins. Well, let me go through Namor's origins and see if this sounds familiar.
Oh no. Here we
It's
go.
a human lighthouse keeper who that's his dad.
Okay.
His mom is Atlantean royalty.
Okay.
And they
watched
got
the movies about
together
this.
and made a baby, and he came out Namor. And that his actual name is Namor McKenzie, which that's dumb.
Namor McKenzie.
So I'm just going to refer to him by the much cooler Namor.
Okay.
And I may refer to Namor being the comic Namor, and then Namor being the MCU, Namor.
Namor.
One of them.
One of them.
Anyway, Namor MCU, Namor comics, because there's
Sorry
some
for that
distinct
sound.
differences. So anyway, Namor's been around for 86 years. That entire time, he's been a colossal douche. I find nothing that I can relate to with him in any storyline he's in, and usually he's just a problem.
Yeah.
He will wage war against the surface world because there's too much trash in the ocean, or he'll wage war because somebody figured out how to do something against the Atlanteans, and nobody seems to even care about the Atlanteans on the surface world. They're only brought up when Namor makes a stink about it. He appeared in like Fantastic Four frequently. He's actually a founding member of the Avengers, the Invaders, and the Defenders. The Invaders were Captain America, Namor, the original android Human Torch, and they fought evil in the 1940s. So
He has a track record.
yeah, Namor's been around a long time. And again, nobody really has ever seemed to like him. And I don't think most comic characters even like him.
No.
That interact with him frequently. But in all fairness, he is also considered comics' first anti-hero.
Okay.
And I don't know if they successfully did that, but he's that person that steps up when he needs to step up, and he causes problems when they need somebody to cause problems. His power set, he can breathe both water and air. He does need to be exposed to water within a certain time frame to maintain a level of strength. He is exceptionally strong. In the water, Ryan Coogler, who directed the Wakanda Forever, said that his strength is comparable to the Hulk, who Stanley has said was meant to be the strongest character in Marvel Comics.
When he's touching water.
When he's in the water.
Okay.
Outside of the water, he still can hold his own against the Hulk. He's not weak in any way, shape, or form, but he's just kind of a regular-sized man in the comics with a good physique.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of difficult to conceptualize that this guy can throw down with the Hulk, who is significantly larger than him. He can fly with his ankle wings, which, again, always seemed kind of dumb to me. But it does play a part later in my discussion. For those of you who have not seen Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, I would watch it because there's going to be a lot of references to that, and I want you guys to appreciate how cool Ryan Coogler and Tenoch Huerta made Namor in that.
And he is the actor that played Namor.
Yes, he's the actor who played Namor in the movie. So let's see. I went over his origin a little bit. In the movie, his origin is much better. He is a mutant who is exposed to the same plant that makes Black Panther who he is.
Yes.
And because he's a mutant, it allows him to breathe both air and water. And it doesn't change his skin color. Where everybody else in his tribe, I guess, was dying from smallpox and they needed the heart-shaped herb to survive. Because it was farmed from a water version of the heart-shaped herb, it turned all of his people blue, and they needed to live in the water to survive. They could not breathe air anymore. It's an offshoot of a Mayan civilization.
Yes.
So they gave him more of a Mayan origin. It's featured in his costumes with like the like big kind of chest plate almost. It's not really even a necklace. And then he's got a big headdress that looks super cool in the water. And even his city, underwater city, Talocan, is Mayan-like.
Yes.
And it's
Which I thought was a dope aspect.
Yes, it's
Love that.
gorgeous, and I think the origin makes it more relatable in that you don't have this guy that's getting mad because there's too much trash in the ocean. You have a person who is defending his people against a legitimate threat from the surface world who are making what was it, vibranium?
Vibranium.
Yeah,
They
and
were drilling for vibranium.
yeah, and it was threatening his city. And Tenoch Huerta, if you have not seen, is a bulldog of a man. He is broad-shouldered. He's big. He's threatening. He's got like a really commanding presence. And when he comes out of the ocean, it makes me think of James Bond when Daniel Craig comes out of the ocean in his first Bond movie.
Great
But yeah, he comes out of the ocean and he is just awesome. He's got like a royalty stride to him and everything. And
I hate the word, but he's got a swagger.
Oh, he does. He does 100%. And at points in combat in that movie, he moves like Gladiator, like where he kind of zigzags and gets low and has like a spear and. So he dodges like the bullets and things are coming at him, and his little ankle wings are going from being like little stupid ankle wings to like allowing him to move at such a speed that makes him intimidating and super threatening. He killed it. Like and the way he was written was perfect. And like I actually like Namor and how he got the name Namor. Like I remember, I think it was in a preview for it. They said that they're mispronouncing Namor. Thank you, Go.
All right, mister.
How about you get down for a sec? They said in a preview they're mispronouncing it. It should be Namor, but honestly, like Namor makes more sense to me. It sounds cooler and it links more to a Mayan heritage, like almost a Spanish sound, Spanish tongue, and it was an awesome performance. And now I can't wait to see him in another movie.
Yes. Do we have any confirmation he's going to be in another one? I hope so.
I don't know, but Fantastic Four is supposed to be coming out soon, and he is. He's attached to the Fantastic Four for not the most positive reasons. He generally just kidnaps Sue Storm and then they have to go rescue her or something dumb. But I don't see Namor as being this kind of two-dimensional problem. In all actuality, I think he could play a much more positive, kind of gritty character. Like
hero.
A hero.
Yeah.
Not necessarily an anti-hero, but definitely a gritty hero in the future. And I hope that that's what we see from him.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think while I enjoyed Black Panther 2 overall, I thought he was the standout of the movie itself. I really enjoyed it. Going, actor-wise, I thought what they did in the portrayal of how they dealt with Chadwick Boseman passing, R.I.P., was amazing. But characters, like specific character-wise, I was like, oh, let's see what happens with this guy. Like, we'll see. And then I watched the movie. I was like, he was my favorite character.
Right. And like when you hear that Namor is going to be the bad guy in Wakanda Forever, you're like, oh God.
Yeah,
well, at least we'll get a good send-off for Chadwick Boseman. I know that Ryan Coogler will do him justice, which he still did him justice.
Did, yeah.
It was beautiful. In the beginning of the movie, I couldn't help but cry a few times. I was interested to see who the new Black Panther would be. And
I'm going to be honest, though. From the very first trailer, I was like, it's Shuri.
Yeah,
I just knew it. I knew it in my heart.
I thought it could be Nikita also. But
I sorry to bring that up. It was funny from the very beginning. I was like, I have a feeling that's Shuri.
Yeah.
And it was.
Well, and it doesn't end that way. Like, it could change.
That's
because,
true. Factual.
Yeah, there's a real problem at the end of that.
That's true.
I
Hopefully
thought
no
that Namor was the standout. I thought Nikita was.
Oh, I thought everyone acted well.
Was cool.
Yeah, I thought everything. The acting was great. I thought the story was good. I enjoyed all of it. It's just, if you have to think of, who stood out, Namor stood out.
Yeah, 100%.
So I agree with your call on that.
And I think that through Phase 4, he is the character who I have been most surprised with through everything.
Yeah.
That it's a character I've hated up to this point. I never liked seeing him in any of the comics or anything, and then to see him pop up in the movie and me actually like him.
Yes,
was awesome.
that was a key. I agree. Well, that's good. I agree 100% on your choices.
Good. So I guess then we solidified that my choices were the best.
Well, you know what? I disagree. No, I really enjoyed how in depth you went on their origins of the characters. I should have done that more with Korg, I believe, because I actually don't know exactly where he originated from, like in terms of time frame, where he came to be. I did do that a little bit with Kilgrave, but that was really awesome. I enjoyed that. That was what do you call it? The info was great for me, especially.
Yeah, but I think we
that.
both learned something today.
Yeah, I learned that my choices were the best.
No, they were not. All right, well, let's wrap this up. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Geeks Drop the Gauntlet. Stay tuned as next episode. We'll be discussing which live-action Batman has most earned the ultimate right to say, I am Batman. Punches will be thrown.
Oh, no, for sure. There's
Bam!
Pow! You thought there was no arguing today? Just wait till next episode. I guarantee you it's going down.
If you enjoyed this, please consider hitting like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks again and stay geeky.